Okay, good morning, dear. So, we are meeting after a long time. I hope you all enjoyed your holidays. Okay, so today I'm going to take a new lesson for you. It is given in your history book. So, today we are going to start with our history book. Eighth lesson. Okay, it is given in page number 94. The name of the lesson is Women, Caste, and Reform. Okay, that is the new lesson we are going to start from today. So I hope you all are having your books with you. If you have your books, when listening this video, take your book, open your book, take the same page what I am giving you in the video, and then you start listening it. Okay, this is a very interesting lesson. So if you listen carefully, it will be very interesting to you. So we will start the lesson. So first, as the name of the lesson, Women, Caste and Reform, in this lesson we are going to see in the ancient periods how the life of the women is. When comparing to today's life, how the women life is there, how in the ancient periods before independence, how it was there. That's what we are going to discuss in this lesson. So first in this page number 94, what they have given is, have you ever thought of how children lived about 200 years ago? When you are comparing to the current situation, if you are thinking that before 200 years, what is the state of a women child, what is the state of a girl child, how they have been treated, that was we are going to see. Okay. See, most probably in today's life, you all know that all the girls have all equal rights what the men have, isn't it? They have the rights to educate, they have the rights to go for a job, they have the rights to go outside, they can drive car, two-wheelers, whatever they want, they can do freedomly, isn't it? But when you compare before 200 years, before the freedom and all, women child has, that is the girl child has no freedom at all to have education, to go to a job and whatever it is. Okay, even when she is choosing her husband also, she doesn't have any rights to choose him. Only the men can choose his wife, the wife cannot, the girl cannot choose her husband. Okay, so and one more critical situation which was followed in that years is, see, in today's world, only one person, that is one man can marry only one woman. Okay, they can't marry more than one woman or one man. It is actually legally offense. It is a crime. So it's not possible in today's life. But in that period, before the 200 years, before freedom and all, if a man is willing to marry more than one girl, he has all rights to do that. But a girl should marry only one man. She has the rights to marry only one man. And if suppose the man is dying, he is passing away by at any cost, what is the punishment the girl is getting is, one, she has to die along with that man, or else she should be a widow till she dies. That is the punishment the girl gets. Okay, but if the wife is dying, the man has all the rights to get remarried. So this was the main critical situation which was followed in the before days. And I told you, isn't it, if a husband is dying, the wife is compelled to die. She is forced to die, even though she has all the desires to live for her child, but she can't live. She has to die. That is the punishment given by that day, those days period. And the name of that is Sati. Sati. That was a practicing what it is in Hindus. If a person is dying, if a man is dying, means he will be taken to the graveyard and they will start burning the body, isn't it? See, when the body is burning, the woman, the wife of that particular man should also be tied up with that body and she will also be burning. The man is already died. He is a he is a dead body, and that woman, she is living person. Even though she is a living person, they will tie up along with that body and they will burn both of them. That is known as Sati. Okay, this is a very cruel punishment which was given to the Indian women in those days. Okay, next we will see how the difference became in that period, in that times. uh, there is a biggest difference among the caste, very very biggest difference. They had two type of caste in that those days. One is a upper caste, one is lower caste. This upper caste people are named as Brahmins or Kshatriyas. Okay, this lower class peoples, no, they don't has the power means they don't has the freedom of education. They should not study, they should not go for a upper job, and they should not wear chappals, they should not wear shirts and whatever it is. Okay, these are all the very very illiterate things that have been followed in that before days. And one more important thing is that we can't tolerate in today's life. In those days, the upper caste people will have some separate wells or ponds for their drinking water and for getting bath. In that water, ponds or wells, this lower caste people are not supposed to take water, supposed to drink that water even though they are in whatever situation. This was a very very most cruel thing which was followed in those days. So this has to be changed, isn't it? We need a change in our country. So working towards change, uh, more persons, so many persons were struggling to change the situations. One of the most important person is Raja Ram Mohan Roy. You all know him very well. The picture of him is given in the next page. See, a picture is given, isn't it? He is Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and he started a association. The name of that association is Brahma Sabha. What he did in this Brahma Sabha is he supported women education and women widows remarriage. Okay, this was the main aim of that Brahma Sabha, and later on it was become as Brahmo Samaj. Okay, he mostly fought for this against of sati. That means even the husband is dying, the wife should not be killed. That was the first aim, and all the women should be educated. That is his main aim of this Brahma Sabha and Brahma Samaj. Why he often fought for this is because he thought that only when the women is educated, they will get the knowledge that they should not be killed. They will oppose to the people, those who are forcing them, and they will get a confidence to live without their husband or whomever it is. Okay, so in 1829 Sati was banned. As he fought again and again, he was giving his voice throughout the year, going long year. In 1829 this sati was banned. After 1829, nobody should force a wife to die along with with her husband. Okay, so if you see in the same page, a picture is given down, isn't it? That is Hooks Weaving Festival. What is mean by this Hooks Weaving Festival is it is followed in that previous days. Still now so many peoples were doing this. If you see in temple festivals and all, you can see in Tamil we will tell it as Alagu Kutradu. We will tell, isn't it? See, so many of them will pin their tongues, so many of them will pin in their cheeks, and so many peoples will pin in their backside skin, and some of them will hang also. You might have been seen in so many festivals, isn't it? This was the most cruel festival which was followed in that ancient period. Still now so many of them were following this, but no god forces to suffer like this. God, in whichever the religion may be, all the gods are telling us to be lovable to others and be lovable. They are not forcing us to die like this. Okay, so next, then Ram Mohan Roy published many pamphlets. How he made these changes is he published more pamphlets, and he wrote so many dialogues towards that, and he started publishing this. A small conversation has been given in that box. That is nothing but before 175 years there was an argument between the people who were accepting sati and who were not accepting sati. That was given there. Okay, next, after this sati was banned, people, those who want a revolution in their society, they started thinking of the women education. Women should be surely educated. They have to stand on their own legs. That was their main aim. The people who forced towards that are Aishwarya Chand Vidyasagar. He used an ancient text of suggest that widows could remarry. So he thought that widows, see why the women is too forced to kill when the husband die is, if the husband is not there, the women will not get any support. Okay, that was the main reason that was followed before. So what he did, Vidyasagar did is, he thought that if a widow is there, if a person husband is dying, that widow is having all the rights to get remarried. She can get married again. Okay, in that case she will get a husband newly and he will take all the support to her. Okay, so for widows remarriage, Aishwarya Chandra Vidyasagar was struggling so much. He wrote so many books and novels for that in from onwards 1856. Okay, then one more person, Veerasalingam Pantulu. He was a Telugu person. Okay, he was also struggling so much for the widows remarriage and girls education. So they started Swami Dayananda Saraswati, there was a person named, and he started an association named Arya Samaj. Arya Samaj, this Arya Samaj was mainly supported and created only for the purpose of widows remarriage. Okay, yeah. So a picture was given, that is the Mr. Aishwarya Chandra Vidyasagar, and he mostly struggled for girls education. See, in those days, as girls has no rights to learn educated, there is no school for girls actually. So what he did is, he started a school for girls alone. He started an association named Arya Samaj, isn't it? So he converted that Arya Samaj association as a girls school in Punjab, and Jyoti Rao Paul in Maharashtra. Okay, so later on what happened is, so many Muslim women's, they started reading Qurans. Okay, if only they learned that language, they can read that book Quran. Okay, isn't it? So many Muslim women's, what they did is, who know to read Quran, the women's who know to read Quran, they started going to the homes of Muslim girls and they started educating that girls to read the Quran. And they are giving that they started that girls, those who are started learning to read the Qurans, they started writing novels and Urdu poems also. So this made a great revolution among the Indian women to learn their own language, to read at least their religious books. They are not going to going outside and they are not going to do anything extremely, but at least to read their religious books, they need to learn the language which is their book. If it is given in Tamil, they have to need to learn of Tamil. If it is in Hindi, they are in need to learn of Hindi. So in this way only it has been revoluted the women education. The ladies who were struggling for women education and supported, motivated for women education is Mumtaz Ali, Begum of Bhopal and Begum Rokeya of Shaukat. Okay, these are all the women's, those who supported and motivated all the women's to learn, get educated. Okay, next we will see about how women's enter into universities and how they become popular because of that. In 1880s, 1818 onwards, Indian women were entered into universities, means they went up to the college levels. So many women became doctors, so many women became teachers, and so many of them were participating in the freedom struggle also. Okay, next, Tarabai Shinde, the names were given there. Tarabai Shinde, a woman educated at a home at Pune. She is a woman, she was educated her in her home, and later on what she published is Sri Purushatulug. This is a book which is telling us the comparison of women and men in those days itself. It was a big crime, those who are comparing women and men in those days, but in that days itself, that lady boldly, she is publishing a book towards the comparison of men and women. Next, Pandita Rambai, a great scholar of Sanskrit, and like this so many women were coming up. Home at class at the, and these women were repeatedly they were supporting the remarriage of widows. Why it is? Because if a woman is becoming a widow, if she is losing her husband, the relatives of the husband and the nearby neighbors of that home, they were always criticizing and scolding and whatever they can do the women, they are treating them very very badly. So this was the main thing, they has to change. Okay, but even though whomever the scholars were willing to change all these things, so many orthodox family, you know what is meant by orthodox, isn't it? Very very cultural families, isn't it? Like both in Hindu and Muslim cultures, they are not able to accept this, they are not supposed to accept this. So later on, after 1920 onwards, leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose were fighting against this, and they thought that women has all equal rights to men, and they has the voting rights, they has the educating rights, they has all rights to go for a job, and they need not to die after when their husband dies. Okay, so and one more important great crime which was followed against the children is the child marriage. You know, in today's world, according to legal law, men should get married after 21 years and a girl should get married after 18 years. That was the age of their major. Only if a boy gets 21 years, he is a major. A girl gets 18 years completed, she is a major. Till that they are treated as a minor child, they are not a major child. Okay, so in before days there is no any age limit for the marriage. If even that girl is 6 years old or 5 years old or even 10 years old, they will get married. So this was very very critical in those days. So in 1929, this Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed, and what they thought that they thought that we will keep a restriction for the age limit. So in those days they passed a law that men should completed 18 years for getting married, and a girl should completed 16 years for getting married. But one important and unbelievable fact that today also in so many places the girls are getting married before the age of 18. If they got even 15 years, if they are getting matured, the parents are willing to get married for their girls. So this is very very abusement of girls. So why I am taking this lesson is, this is a very very important lesson for the social revolution. So those who are listening this lesson, you keep it in mind and you have to follow all these things. When you are listening this video, listen along with your book. Okay, so I taught from page number 94 to 100. So today's homework is listen this lesson carefully and read the lesson line by line. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can contact me in the group. Thank you.